It's 9:17. I'm Barrister Daniel Barnett, taking all your legal questions in the LBC Legal Hour. Jensen is a new caller from Nottingham. Jensen, good evening.
Thank you for taking my call, Daniel. Good evening to you, sir. The question I just wanted to ask was, during the current pandemic, previously during lockdown, I had the facility or the opportunity to work from home because obviously we're on a lockdown. But now as our area has gone into the Tier 2 category, and I've made a request to work from home, it's been denied to me. Can my employer, or certainly the person who is my line manager, deny me that right to work from home?
What do you do, Jensen?
I currently work for a large retailer, and I'm in their security department.
Meaning what?
I manage their CCTV systems.
Right, so it's a desk job rather than standing on a door?
It is, yes.
And is that something that can be done as well from home?
Well, the precedent's been set, Daniel, because, as I say, during the
I understand
lockdown,
that, Jensen, but that's not quite an answer to my question.
Right, so you're asking if my job can be done from home?
Can it be done
yes,
as well by home?
Yes, I would say.
Yep. What would your employers say?
Well, I'm not being given a reason as to why I can't work from home. Just the answer is no.
Okay. Presumably, during lockdown, was the store closed back in March?
Well, yeah, a lot of our premises were closed.
But now they're open, so that would be the difference. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. And do you think that your employer has a good business reason for wanting you on the premises to be supervising the security?
Well, I've not been given one, if there is.
I accept that, but do you think your employer has a good business reason for it?
Not really, no.
No? Okay. How do you connect in? Is it just over the internet?
Yeah, we dial in through a VPN network and we'll monitor that way via the internet. And that's what my job is normally. I'm using IP cameras, which we access over the internet.
And are you looking at multiple stores or just the one store in which you're based?
Multiple.
So it's not a case of if something happened, you'd have to get up from your desk and go out into the store area?
No.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you the legal position first of all. The legal position is you have no legal right to insist on working from home, with one exception, which I'll come to in just a second. It's totally up to the employer whether you work from home or work from your normal place of work in the office. Now, during the first lockdown, of course, when most stores were closed, were you furloughed, by the way, Jensen?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. There was a lot more pressure on employers not to have people come into work. At the moment, the current government messaging is that it's much more left up to the discretion of the individual employer, and other than in Tier 3 areas. But you said you're from Nottingham in Tier 2, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, that means that it's totally up to your employer to decide whether you come into work or work from home. There are a couple of exceptions to that. The first exception, which I suspect isn't the case because you haven't mentioned it, is if you're disabled and having you work from home would be a reasonable adjustment. I assume we can rule that one out?
Yes.
Okay. The second exception is this, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated, Jensen. It's under something called, I'm going to give you a little bit of law here. It's under something called Section 44 of the Employment Rights Act. And you can look that up on the internet later, Section 44 of the Employment Rights Act. And what that says is that if you reasonably believe that your health is in serious, imminent danger by going into work, you can't be punished or sacked if you insist on staying at home. So that's the legal test. You've got to reasonably believe your health is in serious, imminent danger. Has your employer taken COVID-friendly precautions like screens, providing sanitizer, distancing, etc.?
Yes, there are measures in place.
Okay. Now, do you believe that your health is in serious, imminent danger if you go into work?
Well, I didn't want to really go into too much detail on this call, but we've had cases of corona.
But you're in your own office, aren't you?
Yes, I work.
You do your work in front of a screen, and you can do it as well from home, so you don't need to interact with people.
No, that's right.
So the fact there have been cases of COVID elsewhere, would that affect you?
Well, in the building that I have to access, yes.
Okay, so come back to the question, do you believe that your health would be in serious, imminent danger if you went into work?
Well, with the measures in place currently at the moment, providing one's careful, no, but there is that risk. I happen to fall into certain categories that would make me more susceptible to the virus.
Okay. Well, from a legal point of view, then I'm afraid you couldn't rely on that Section 44 of the Employment Rights Act if you didn't believe your health is in serious imminent danger, because it's a very limited condition. Let me just tell you, first of all, what the position would be if you did believe that, and then I'm going to tell you what you can do anyway. If you did believe that, you'd be entitled to stay at home, but there's there's a lot of uncertainty amongst lawyers and judges as to whether that's paid or unpaid. And a lot of employers are taking the view that they're not going to pay employees who decide to stay at home, who exercise this right to stay at home, for two reasons. First of all, for simple cash flow reasons, they're better off not paying and then being sued and paying the money if they lose in 2 or 3 years' time. And the second reason employers are saying we're not going to pay this money is they don't want to encourage others to decide that they're worried about their health and stay at home on full pay. So there's a fair chance you wouldn't be paid if you decided to remain at home under this serious imminent danger law. But let's park that, because you've said you don't think that applies to you. What can you do? Have you put in a grievance, Jensen?
I've put in an objection, but I wouldn't say it's a grievance as such at this moment in time.
Right. You're absolutely right to be pressing for reasons for why they're requiring you to come into work. How long have you been pressing for reasons?
Well, it's only in the last few days, so it's just under a week.
So it's not completely unreasonable that they haven't written back to you yet?
No.
Wait a little bit longer, and if you don't get reasons you're happy with, I would present a formal grievance. Are you a member of a union, Jensen?
Yes, I am.
Is the union helping you on this?
I haven't consulted them at this moment in time.
OK, it's probably worth doing that, because union reps tend to be really on the ball with this sort of thing and know the procedures inside out. Legally, I don't think you have the right to stay at home, but in terms of an employer who has good industrial relations with its staff, if you can present a sensible case as to why you can do the job just as well from home, well, common sense says they should be happy to let you work from home, because that way you are not risking bringing COVID into the workplace and infecting others. So, Jensen, I hope that does work for you, but legally it's going to be a little bit of a struggle to insist on working from home. And that's the case for most workers, unless you can prove a reasonable belief in serious imminent danger. And it's getting harder and harder as employers get more and more COVID friendly in the workplace and COVID prepared. You don't have that right to stay at home. Jensen, thank you so much for your call. Matt is in Newcastle. Matt, good evening. What's your question?